To our monthly last Thursday of the month, as Attorney Hardy would say, legal night. But tonight is a little special. So right before we bring up all of our great legal minds, we're going to do a moment of silence for Attorney Michael A. Hardy. So if everyone can quiet their hearts, limit your movements. If you want to stand in place, you can also do that. We are going to do a moment of silence right now. We ask the ancestors to watch over. I know Attorney Hardy is smiling down now, just to still see the room fill because of the work that he is putting in, along with all of his legal minds behind me. So right now, we're going to ask everyone just to be silent for Attorney Michael A. Hardy. May he continue to rest in peace, and thank you all. And right now, as we always do, we're going to kick it off by bringing up none other than one of our great legal eagles, Attorney Joel Smelkin. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Patrice. Tonight is, you'll see, going to be a different type of legal night, more somber. We lost a giant this week. Giant of a man, giant of a lawyer who had a giant heart. And many of us might know that years ago, Reverend Sharpton was very close with a very famous and legendary entertainer. And his name was James Brown. Those of us who remember James Brown know that people would say that he was the hardest working man in show business. That was the expression. And I'd like to borrow that expression for a moment in terms of Mike Hardy. And I think my colleagues behind me will agree, that Mike Hardy was the hardest working lawyer in the civil rights business. And I say this because I was fortunate to have his friendship close to 20 years. And during that time, I'd be able to speak with him on a Sunday. He'd be working. Speak with him on a Saturday after the rally. He'd be working. Be able to call him before 9 in the morning, after 5 at night, and he'd be working. Mike had a great legal talent and a great legal mind. And you know, he could have done anything in the legal field. Very intelligent man. He could have been a judge, a great judge he would have been. Could have been a great constitutional law scholar. Could have been a great politician. But instead he chose to be a civil rights lawyer, a trial lawyer, to represent the community, to represent Harlem. He loved this community and the community loved him. And he had a lot of high profile cases over the years and made law because he was that great of a trial lawyer. And I was fortunate roughly 15 years ago when he asked me and a few of the attorneys sitting behind me to come up with the idea of a program to bring law to the community, to reach people that maybe wouldn't have the resources to speak with an attorney. And it was Mike's idea to come up with Legal Night. Legal Night. That's what we have over here. And in the early days, we wasn't called Legal Night. We had a different expression, different word for it, different phrase, because Mike wanted everybody to remember what it was, what we were doing, and when it was going to be held. So the program in those days were called, this goes back in 2011, in those days, the program was called Your Thursday Night's Legal Rights. Sort of a catchy tune, so you remember it was Thursday night, and you remember what we did, it was your legal rights. Because this was his idea. And I think the best way and the best tribute to Mike would be that Legal Night has got to continue on, and it will continue on. And for it to continue on, I thank you, we thank you, the audience, for being part of the Legal Night field, the Legal Night community. We thank you for that, and we thank Mike Hardy for coming up with this great program. And now what I'd like to do is, the attorney sitting behind me, I think it would be fitting if everybody would come up one by one to say a few words about Mike Hardy. And first, who I'd like to call an individual, Judge J. Mashel Sweeting, who right now is on to bigger and better things, being a judge in Supreme Court. But she was one of our original attorneys here at Legal Night, spent a lot of time consulting and advising people about their legal rights before she was on the bench. But before Judge Sweeting addresses herself, addresses the audience, I have a little confession that I'd like to make before I call Judge Sweeting up here. And that is that over the years, when I have been fortunate enough to be on the same program, the same panel as Judge Sweeting, I have always made sure that I speak before her, because as you soon will see, she is one tough act to follow, and I don't need the pressure. Thank you. Judge Sweeting.
Thank you, Attorney Joel Schmelken, to Sister Patrice, and to all who are part of the National Action Network family, both remotely and in person, to all of my colleagues who are here, both in the judiciary and attorneys. We all share the same profession and love, which is that of law and community. Now, they say that attorneys, judges, and civil rights leaders are not born, but they're made. Well, I'm here to attest to the fact that Michael Hardy defied that. He was, in fact, born into the legal profession. And we know that, as most will say, where's the evidence of that? We can look directly and specifically to what's called the documentary evidence called his birth certificate. He was born on July the 2nd, and that's the same day that another legal titan, the same day that the legendary civil rights attorney and first African-American judge to sit on the United States Supreme Court, that's the same day, July 2nd, that Thurgood Marshall was born. So it's through the years that Attorney Hardy and I would have conversations about whether or not he too wanted to serve as a judge. And he had reservations, not because he did not possess the requisite skills, because we've all seen him in action. So we know that he had the skill, the temperament, the support, all of that he had. But the one reservation that he had is, he said, in order to serve as a judge, he must do something that his heart would not allow him to do, which is to separate from you. What do I mean by that? In order to become a judge, one must retire from the practice of law. Attorney Hardy saw, by way of his heart, he dedicated his entire life to public service. He dedicated his entire life to being the champion of justice, the champion of civil rights, taking on causes and actions that others dared not take on. He ensured and wanted to make certain that he remained an advocate for the people. and for all of the issues which included equality and fairness, which were causes that were near and dear to his heart. Now, as an attorney, I too wanted to be like Mike. And so I looked for parallels, which included the fact that my mother was born on July the 1st. And while I'm born female, she couldn't call me Michael, so she named me Michelle. So I, under his pupillage, had to be like Mike. And that included having the greatest attribute of them all that Michael Hardy possessed, which is called patience. A few years ago, the National Bar Association, which is the largest association of Black lawyers and judges, had off-site for the first time at Minisink Townhouses, the Legal Nights program. And the attorneys, although very equipped in the skills, did not know how to handle a legal night's audience. But for Attorney Hardy being there, he made certain that the one thing that we must all do is to listen and give audience to the people. Anyone who has been in Attorney Hardy's presence knows that he had an abundance of patience. He would listen here in the House of Justice to every circumstance and would stay behind late into the night to ensure that everyone, especially those who would otherwise be voiceless, he would ensure that everyone, especially those who felt marginalized, he made certain that everyone would be seen, heard, and respected. Under his pupillage, again, I want to be like Mike. Michael Hardy with these legal nights give true meaning to the constitutional proclamation, which says everyone has the right to an attorney. But Attorney Hardy expanded upon that, and he interpreted those words to mean you don't just have the right to an attorney, but you have the right to have access to a good, qualified, and competent attorney, one who is trained with the procedure and the substance of the law, all of its complexities, but who also is equipped with the cultural competency, the human compassion, and the love for the people. That's who Attorney Hardy was. He inspired me, and he inspired countless others with his dedication and unyielding spirit. In all the years, this is year 15 of Legal Nights, he may have missed one, if at all, one legal night in 15 years. So I thank you, Dr. Robin Hardy, and to the entire Hardy family for giving us Michael Hardy, where he consistently marked on his calendar without missing a beat, dedicating himself every last Thursday of the month to ensuring that the people of the community get heard and that they have access to justice. So we thank his family for letting him do what he loved to do, which is he loved each and every one of us best. He gave hope to those in despair, and he brought light to people in places that were surrounded by darkness. So tonight, as we reflect on his life, let us be reminded of the power of his unwavering commitment, his commitment to making a difference. Tonight, we mourn the loss of Attorney Michael Hardy, and we also get, though, to celebrate his extraordinary life. We celebrate and honor him best by continuing to move forward with Legal Nights, which is what we will do tonight on the last Thursday of every month. And we also continue to move forward by giving access to justice to all people and by allowing time for you, the people of the community, to be heard. Attorney Hardy made the House of Justice your home, where justice can always be found. That's his legacy, the legacy of Attorney Hardy. He made the world a more just and equitable place for us all. And may his legacy live on, and may his spirit continue to guide us forever. I get to wear a robe because beneath my wings will forever be the spirit of Michael Hardy. With that, we give thanks.
Wow. So Michael started this legal night.
Good day, everyone.
You hear
It
it
is
all?
a solemn moment for me. I am Senria Edwards. I'm a Supreme Court Justice in Brooklyn, New York. I am also one of the founding members of Legal Night with Michael. I met Michael in 2006, and in 2008, we bonded. And I worked under him because I was a president of the Brooklyn National Action Network chapter. Michael, at that point, struck gold because he learned how to bring all the attorneys behind me to help and to do something for the organization. Michael called me when there was a case. Not only did he appear at Legal Night, but he appeared in court quite often. And I worked under him, argued cases for him, did the research and put it together. And when the court opened at 9 a.m., Michael was there. All right? I was not there by myself. He watched over me every single angle to make sure that I was doing the work correctly and efficiently for NAN. Michael marched. You know that NAN is a marching organization, civil rights. We march and we demand. I would show up at some of the marches, sometime a little bit late, Goldie and Patrice. Michael was there. And I would say to Michael, well, why are you over here? I've been learning under him. Why are you doing this? He said, because if there's an arrest, I can't be in the middle. I got to make sure I get everybody out. He was so sharp and so visionary that it was beyond belief for me. And he never tired. He never wavered to make sure not only you, but citizens across these United States, voices were heard. That's who Michael was. I went to see him a few times. We all knew he was sick, and I would say to him sometime, Michael, what are you doing? I'm just finishing chemo. I said, so why are you answering the phone? The next day, he was in the office. I said, Michael, you don't have to go to work all the time. But I understood for him, there was work still to be done. And for what he could do, he did. So I'm also now working on a law review article. And I said, okay, Michael, I know you did the Yusuf Hawkins. I know that you also did the Garnes case. All these cases I knew about, right? I said, so I'm going to cover all of these cases. Let me start my research. Michael said to me, he had wrote a book and he had some attorneys here that put chapters in it. Start with policing, constitutional policing. I said, okay, and it was published by the ABA. I was down at Duke University. When I went to the library, I only beamed. In June, there was the book with Michael A. Hardy on the cover. I called him, I sent him a picture. He just said, I love you. But Michael loved the law in each and every one of us. So make sure that we all are going to carry on in his name. When he saw something, he said something, he did something. And I leave that same spirit in charge to all of you here. Be each other's keepers, right? And carry on in the name of Michael Hardy. When something is done right, it's not legal night, it is Michael Hardy. Thank you all.
Assemblyman Al Taylor, most certainly we can't do what we do without the legislation. We're the third branch of government, but I acknowledge Assemblyman Al Taylor, who represents this district.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Edmonds, and I am an attorney, does estate planning. I'm originally from Harlem, New York. Proud Harlemite. My mother, father raised me to be very conscious about community and about. So I went to St. Aloysius, and I went to Cardinal Hayes High School in the Bronx. About 7 years ago, a good friend of mine, Kevin McMichael, he told me about legal night, and it sounded like a great idea. So he said, he was explaining to me, lawyers, giving information to the community for free, really get a lot of information. And he said, won't you come with me? I said, all right, no problem. I was a, newly minted attorney. And that day I happened to be in court. So I had to wear a suit. So he told me to meet him here. He would meet me, and then we would go in at the same time to enjoy legal night. Well, for whatever the reason, Kev didn't make it that day. So I was left with the choice of whether I should come in or not. And, I saw all the good folks coming in like yourself. I decided, let me just venture on in. I'll do this by myself. So the nice people at the door, I guess because I had a suit on, they asked me, are you an attorney? And I said, yes. And then I got whisked to the back. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And there's a lot of these same attorneys. And of course, Brother Michael Hardy. And essentially, it was like a open arms. They brought me in, asked me questions, made me feel at ease, gave me some food. I'm like, wow, this is nice. We're talking, and then at a particular hour, everybody stood up. Like, what's going on? So we start walking out. So, well, I guess it's my time to leave. I feel somebody's hand in my back, staring me. And then the next thing you know, I'm sitting on the stage. This is my first night. And so, Brother Hardy does what he does. And then he asked me to come up to talk to the audience, to explain who I am and what I do. I was so nervous. I couldn't believe it, but I was also so thankful. Because here it is. Yeah, that's 7 years ago. And I've been coming back ever since. And I would like to say, too, in that 7-year span, Brother Hardy has been like a mentor, dare say even a father figure. For me and my family, I'm the first one to graduate, much less go to law school. So seeing an African-American man as a lawyer, I can't really express to you what that meant and means to me. And so having him, seeing him, how he handled and operated was and continues to be a blessing. I'm so sorry for his loss, his family, Nan, all of the attorneys. I mean, that was a major blow. And I'm not sure how we're gonna get through it, other than to say that we will get through it. Love and peace to Brother Hardy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Gleason. I'm an attorney. I practice civil rights, criminal defense, and personal injury. And I first met Mike probably about 5 years ago in a civil rights matter where I ran into him and I bounced some stuff off of him. And he said, "Why don't you come up to legal night? I like what you're doing, and I think it might be a good fit." Well, it was a good fit. And the first thing that I was overwhelmed with Michael Hardy was his unwavering desire for justice. He was selfless. He will be sorely missed by the NAN community, by the legal community, certainly by his family and friends. But the most important thing we can do is remember his legacy and live on in the way. We should ask ourselves, what would Michael do? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenny Gilbert. I wasn't born in Harlem, but Harlem has always been in my heart ever since I started to read about the Harlem Renaissance. I knew I wanted to be in Harlem. It's almost 30 years ago after I graduated from law school and got my legal mind behind me. I came to Harlem. Now, it's good that I hear a lot about Michael Hardy because I've only known him for about 6 or 7 years. But one attribute of attorneys is that we read people. We can look people in the eye. We understand a lot about people. When I met Michael Hardy, I could tell his soul was good. His soul was in the right place. He was a person that you could trust. He was a person that you could trust. And you can believe in what he says. I wanted to come to legal night because I wanted to give the people of Harlem a part of me, and that's what I've been doing for 30 years, is giving Harlem a piece of me. And I have been blessed, and I have been fulfilled. Knowing Michael Hardy also helped me understand that working with the people of Harlem is fulfilling. Working with African Americans, working with people of color is a fulfilling challenge that all of us on this stage have been fulfilled. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless Michael Hardy.
It's an honor to be able to memorialize such a fantastic man. I first met Michael Hardy in a different way than most of the people behind me. I first met Michael Hardy when we were litigating a case against each other. And I was young and I thought I knew a lot more than I did. And I kind of played with my elbows out. Michael Hardy didn't. He showed his decency. He showed respect when I should have been more respectful. And when we got to know each other better years later and I started participating in legal night, sometimes we'd go to dinner together or have long conversations. I was always prepared for Michael Hardy to call me out about that rude kid who thought he was right and wanted to win. There were dinners when I thought he'd bring it up. There were meetings when I thought he'd bring it up. But that's the kind of class that Michael Hardy had. He never mentioned it. Michael Hardy was a different kind of person. He always had respect for others. He always carried himself with a dignity that we should all strive for. He always saw the law as a tool that he could use to bend the arc of justice for all of us. Michael Hardy had the skill, the talent, the personality, the charisma to work at any law firm and to demand any price for his services. Instead, he dedicated his life to serving people who needed the service the most. A life that he happily, politely, and with dedication and with integrity served people who needed that service the most. That's his legacy. It's a legacy we should all strive to honor in our own life. Find the little things that we can do to make someone else's life better. We can't be Michael Hardy, but as Judge Sweeting said, we can all try to be a little bit more like Mike.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Ross. Hi. I want to be like Mike also. I first came to New York over 30 years ago as a tax lawyer with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I didn't come to Harlem except for once a month to be at a 100 Black Men meeting. During that time, I heard of Michael Harding, but I didn't know Michael Harding. And it was only when I decided to come back to New York to finish my career where I started it back in 2018. I came to NAN and I got a chance to meet Michael Harding. I didn't know him then either, but we met and he said, when you relocate to New York, come by and see us. So finally, when I got here, I had the great opportunity to meet another one of my local heroes, Mr. Ken Gilbert. I'm going to say that now while he's here, because through Ken, who to me embodies the same kind of spirit as Mike, I got a chance to get to know Mike Harding a little better. And so Ken said, let's go to legal night. And I said, sure. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for almost 30 years, but didn't have the time and space to do it. And so I came and of course I enjoyed the pizza in the back and I got to know Mike a little bit more. And a little bit more. And then on one or two occasions when Ken couldn't come, I came anyway. On my last meeting here back in May, Michael Harding reminded me that my name is Michael. And he called on me to lead the meeting. And like the other young man stood up, he said, I was a little nervous, but I'm forever grateful for having the opportunity to be a part of NAN, be a part of Legal Night, and to share the stage and the commitment with all these fine lawyers and judges. And I suspect, whether you know Michael Harding for 5 days or for 50 years, the impact is no less. because in the short period of time that I've had to know him, he's made a tremendous impact on me. And for those who have known him for 30 years and for 50 years, I'm sure he's made a tremendous impact on you. So when you meet the kind of people that Mike Harding is, it's an impact instantly. And so I'm forever grateful. God bless the Hardy family. My condolences are with you and Dr. Robin Hardy. And I look forward to sharing in the commitment to continue on the work of Michael Hardy.
Good evening. My name is Wiley Seklow. I am honored and privileged to have known Michael Hardy for more than 20 years and count him as one of my dear friends. Similar to Gary Certain, Michael and I met as adversaries, opposite sides of a case, more than 20 years ago. The case was in Staten Island, and so we would take the ferry back together every time, and our friendship grew. We talked about the civil rights movement. I learned from Michael about lots of things that happened in that civil rights movement, lots of the positions of lawyers in the civil rights movement. We aligned on so many things. Over the years, our friendship continued to grow. In early 2000s, when a young man in Queens was shot and killed by the police, Sean Bell, Michael and I were helping to organize a huge protest that shut down the 5 bridges and tunnels in and out of Manhattan. And together, we represented over 200 people who were arrested that day in that protest. We went to trial for some of those people, including Reverend Sharpton, including Nicole Pautry Bell. And Michael helped me as we were navigating through all of that. And our friendship continued to grow. For some of those people, including Reverend. Some years later, we together, along with Joel and others here, began Legal Rights Night here in Harlem. And it's continued year after year, month after month. And it's something that I know Michael is extremely proud of. And something that I am also extremely proud to be a part of. And I'm only a part of it because of Michael Hardy. Our friendship continued to grow. Over the years, he has given me such great support. Every time something good, positive, or difficult was happening in my life, Michael was there to help me, to support me. When I was sworn in as president of the Southern District Bar Association, Michael was there. When I was able to honor the Honorable John Lewis at an event at the courthouse, Michael was there. Our friendship just grew and grew and grew. Baseball games together. He was a Yankee fan, I was a Met fan. Didn't matter. We went to games in the Bronx, we went to games in the Queens. Didn't matter, our friendship grew. This year, we got to go to some Knicks games together, including a playoff game. Knicks down big in the first quarter. Michael turns to me and goes, "Do not worry. This team is coming back and this team is going to win," and win they did that night. So I stand here before you, talking about a dear friend of all of ours, somebody who's taught all of us so much. I also want to acknowledge his wife, Dr. Robin Hardy, who in her own right is an incredible human being, who has dedicated herself to the community, herself to her career and to her husband. And Robin, we're here. We know where you are. We know how you're doing. We're giving you support. Hopefully you've heard all these amazing words of honor and privilege that we all share in Michael's memory. This is the man that you shared your home with, you shared your life with, and we all appreciate that. I remember being at the annual convention dinner one night, and Ben Crump came over and came straight to you, past Michael Hardy, and said, "Thank you for donating your husband to the movement." And that's how we all feel. Michael was always there. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jeff Emden, and like everyone else here, I have a friendship with Michael Hardy, both personal and professionally. He's a giant of a man who'll be sorely missed. He had time for everybody and anything. Nothing was too trivial for him. He never made you feel silly by asking a question. He always had the time if you had an issue. Like Wiley, I went to Yankee games, Knicks games, but Wiley never went to a playoff game with him. So you had probably a better standing in that regard. But he was a giant, not only in legal issues, social issues, getting people out to vote, making sure prisoners had the right to vote and that they weren't disenfranchised due to a conviction. He stood for everybody and anything. And when you had a phone call from Michael Hardy and he asked you, hey, can you look into this and do a favor? He did so much that you couldn't say no. You had to do it and you wanted to do it. And he left this legacy of Legal Night, not only here, but around the country. This is a movement that has been embraced throughout the country. And as we can see in today's times, what's going on in the political divide, it is such an important legacy that he has left. And I am really, really going to miss him. And my condolences to the family. And I thank him for Legal Night and all the great friendships that we've made and camaraderie that he is the one that it's caused and due to. So goodbye, Michael.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? How many of you out there have met Michael Hardy at one point in your time with Nan? With that? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me how many people he touched. I'll be honest with you. My name is Jack Giordano. I'm sorry. I'm an attorney. I practice here. I was fortunate enough to be invited in to be one of the group of lawyers participating in Legal Night. And it just feels a little bit, it doesn't feel right to me tonight here. You know, I feel like Michael was Legal Night. And the 2 legal nights ago, I think it was, Michael asked me to drive him home. He was, you know, it was unusual because usually, you know, pretty much had to drag him out of here. We live next to each other, and I would give him a ride home, but he would stay, you know. But he needed, after he introduced the speaker, he needed to get out of here. And, you know, he really shouldn't have been here to begin with, given his physical condition. And we left through the back door. I rolled up outside and he could barely, I had to pick him up and put him in my truck. And, you know, and I think it was last week at the hospital. I walked into his room and he had people there around the clock. And I got there at a gap and he had the laptop open on his lap. He had some tubes in him. And I don't know how many pounds he was. And I said, Michael, he couldn't talk, but he wanted to tell me something. And I tried to get him to signal with his hands, yes or no. And he was having a very difficult time talking. And then finally I said, you know, can you write? And he said, he lost his train of thought. He didn't know what he was doing with his laptop computer. And then he wrote, Patrice. I said, Patrice. I said, you want me to call Patrice? He said, yes. So I, called Patrice. We got on the phone. And then for the next, I don't know, for 45 minutes, an hour, we went through the entire NAN payroll. And he made sure I never saw anything like that, to be honest with you, in my life, to the penny. Okay. And then he would stop and he would say, what about reimbursements? Barely being able to utter the words with the payroll company on and Patrice on the line. I mention that because I have never seen that type of dedication in my life. And, the one part that really came out to me in these past few weeks is just how strong Michael Hardy was, the strength and the courage that he had. I remember over the last few weeks, we watched a debate together. I think it was out same night. He came over to watch a debate after legal night, one of them. And he said, it's Trump and all this stuff going on and, all this drama with President Biden and all this stuff. And Michael said, I'm not worried about democracy. Our democracy is stronger than anyone. Nobody is going to derail that democracy. And that's the strength, the commitment, and the dedication that we're all talking about here that Michael Hardy had. But he had that for all of you. I don't know, somebody said that he could have commanded a salary at any of the top law firms in the country better than anyone, but he chose to work with you. We are fortunate that he walked among us. We're at a great loss, but I have to say, I think Michael would have wanted us to feel this as an opportunity for us to have some of that strength, some of that courage for each other. Because he was a very special person and he was a role model for us all, and he gave himself for everybody here.
That's right.
And I think the best that we could do is try to emulate him as much as possible. So, yeah, thank you. all.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justice Kathleen Waterman Marshall. Good evening. I'm incredibly honored to be here. I thought I was just going to be another human in the room honoring someone that I knew for not as long or not as well as all of you have. But I just wanted to share probably about 10 seconds. I think the expressions of who Michael Hardy is and has been or was by Justice Sweeting. His warmth, I met him about 8 years ago when he collaborated with my Democratic Club, and his willingness to participate and to be of service was so easy and so free. And then later on, I met him many years later, and he was so warm and he made it so easy to just be yourself. And there was a time when I had to ask him, or I wanted to ask him a question about my career, and he didn't know if he could help me, but his willingness to try to help me and his lending of an ear just came so freely. And, you know, I came to see him at a couple of different events, and he was sort of like a beacon. If you saw him in a room, you knew you were safe. If you saw him and he smiled at you, you knew you were safe. And so one of my great regrets is not knowing him as well as some of you all did. But I feel that in hearing the testimonials of the folks up here on the dais that have known him longer, I feel like I have known him better, and I am inspired to do the work that I do on a daily basis. And commit myself even more to the work that we do on a daily basis. So I'm honored and I'm thankful to all of you to give me a moment to just express my gratitude. The little that I did know of Attorney Hardy, I'm grateful for even that little bit. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
So my name is Royce Russell, and I met Michael Hardy back in 2006 during the Sean Bell tragic death. And at that time, meeting Mike and hearing his name and having a conversation with him, although it wasn't in court, it was very, very, very adversarial. Not because he was being adversarial, because I was. And I was naive. I thought there was one way to show the world that attorneys stood behind this young man who was wrongfully killed by police, and we need to do it this way. And we didn't have real respect for those that paved the way on how you need to do it, how you need to protest, how you need to have people rally around you, how you need to understand that your voice may be loud, but you might be only the one person standing in the crowd at the end of the day. And how do you galvanize people to join in, even when they think that they don't have an interest in what occurred? And so while I just learned something that Wiley was a culprit with Michael and they were storming bridges, here I am standing in the rain in a parking lot where Sean Bell got killed with about 4 or 5 other attorneys. Different movement, hopefully same impact. But at that time, I've come to learn the true adjective for Mike. Yes, he's an attorney. Yes, he is a lawyer. But what he did throughout, whether with the JD, with a bachelor's, just as he walked down Harlem, was that he was a counselor. He was the ultimate counselor. And you often hear attorneys referred to as counselors. They counsel you. Well, that's what Michael did all day, every day. As everybody came in legal night and stood up and took that microphone, whether it was a subject matter that was in Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, whether it was a legal matter, whether it was a social matter, whether it was a matter on just how to navigate, where to file something, Michael counseled everyone here, and he counseled everybody behind us. That's what he did. That's what he's asking us to keep on doing. Yes, Michael's a great man. I mean, how can you not characterize him as a great man? His birthday's July 2nd. My birthday's July 1st. I mean, like, the greatness is all over, right? And your mother is July 1st, so the greatness is really sprinkled around. But what you saw from him was, in order to be a counselor, he had to do something that probably he was never taught, and no teacher can teach you, and nobody can teach you how to do this, is to listen. That's something that is just right there. And he learned how to listen, and he knew how to listen. And I often marveled at the fact that he was the right-hand man to Rev. And how do you do that effectively? How do you answer the questions and direct someone that the rest of the world feels like, oh, he's going in the wrong direction, or he shouldn't have said this and he shouldn't have said that? And knowing that you were part of that decision and that direction, and nothing went down without him putting his thumb on it. I mean, that's really, you see actions going. You see, we're gonna talk about Michael, right? You see Michael Jordan do things in the play and the dunk or what have you. Somebody called that. Somebody counseled. Somebody said, that's the play we're gonna call with 1 second left. That's what we're gonna do today. And guess what? That's what we're not gonna do. Because I'm sure it was a whole lot more nots than yes. You may not believe it, but that Cancerian, I know that he was like, don't do that. And guess what? It didn't happen. Michael, never had to worry about Michael, no matter who took that microphone, no matter how we may have felt like that person might be someone that you want to stay away from, Mike. They may not be like, oh, like got it all together, right? Mike never stand down. Not because he was trying to agitate or do something other than just help and counsel. And the way he did it made that person's or persons, you know what? I'm listening. I hear you. Enough already. Have a seat. He never had to step off the stage. Not one time. He never had to have P Square grab a microphone. Not at all. And so I will always cherish our relationship. I'm saddened that I didn't get a chance to really crack Mike the way I want to, because he didn't laugh enough when I was around him. I was trying to get him. I mean, he gave out pain, because when we had to write that book, right, Wiley? We had to write that book, Constitutional Policing. That was painful. And I would call him and I would say, Mike, the man went to the store. There's nothing else I could say in that sentence. He's like, no, there's more in that sentence you could say. And I'm like, no, the man went to the store, Mike. That's what the man did. No, there's more that you can say in that sentence. And so he stretched your mind in a way that you couldn't even believe that it would be stretched, because you're like, Mike, well, I'm writing this chapter. He's like, there's more in that chapter that you could write. And I'm very happy that he did that, because the product speaks for itself. I will miss him. I will walk in his footsteps. I will continue to counsel like he did. I hope that everyone here counsels one another, because that's the only way we're going to move forward. And I'm just blessed that I had the pleasure of meeting him. My condolences to his family. And let's understand, time moves on, but we should not forget. So be in contact with the family. All right? Be respectful of NAM. Come to Legal Night. Invite others to come to Legal Night. There's a bunch of attorneys behind me that I invited to come to Legal Night, and many, many more. And they were like, what did you get me into? But they're here and they will stay here. So let's keep on doing it.
Everyone, bear with me if I have to take a moment. My name is Amber McKenzie, and I was Attorney Hardy's intern for the past almost 4 years now. It's hard to believe that. I met Mr. Hardy in August 2020 at the march in person. I just pulled up on him and I said, hey, are you Mr. Hardy? He said, yeah. I said, cool. I'm going to start interning with you in the spring. And he was like, who are you? So we started, and we talked for 5 months before I actually started interning with him. And I was still in law school at the time. I went to USC Law, and we were going through criminal law and litigation. And I don't know what we were going over in class, something with murder. And he said, hold on, I'm going to help you learn how to do murder. And he walked me through it. He gave me movies to watch. He gave me cases to read. He made me write papers that had nothing to do with the class I was in. And he pushed me to a level that I didn't know I was capable of reaching. With him, you've heard everyone talking about the Constitutional Policing book. he and I worked on that, editing it and going over it for 2 years. I thought he was crazy for pulling me into this book. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but the amount of research and credit and accomplishment that we achieved together was outstanding. We were able to sit in the room in court hearings that we otherwise wouldn't have had a way to get into. He took me and his family, and he took my family and his family. Both of my parents are lawyers, and they both have projects going on. I feel like they use me to get to Mr. Hardy, but that's fine. He collaborated with my parents on a lot of projects. And one of the most recent ones, I had the pleasure of seeing that video the other day, Patrice, is he sat with one of my father's law classes to break down race and criminal justice. And with them, he concluded the class by talking about legal night and the importance of it and why everyone in the class should get involved. And then after that, he reminded me that I needed to not miss the next legal night meeting Zoom. And I'm pretty sure I missed it. So it's okay. But he's such a kind and wonderful, gentle, caring person. And he had no reason to take a chance on this Black girl from New Mexico just trying to figure out life. And God willing, our second book will still come out and his impact will be made. The last message he wrote to me, he just sent me a heart emoji via text. And I didn't respond. There was no need to respond because if you know that, Mr. Hardy is not the one to just, hey, I love you. Oh my God, here's flowers. Let me give you kisses everywhere. That is not him. So when he sent me a heart emoji, I was like, all right, cool. You're proud of me. And that to me is something that I will never regret. He is one of the best mentors I've had. And every time I did a project, I just wanted to make sure that he was happy to sign his name on anything I turned in. So I just want to end this by saying the thing he always said whenever we got on the phone. He would be like, what's up? So what's going on? And I'd be like, I don't know. You're my boss. You tell me. And I will be replaying that in my head every day, Patrice. So, Mr. Hardy, we love you. And you know what's up.
Okay, before we move to the next part of the program, I'd like Judge Edwards to say a few things.
I won't be long, and I can't stay at this part of the program because I'm no longer an attorney. I'm a judge. But Michael was a bright light in my life. And if he was a bright light in your life, I want everybody to stand up. Stand to your feet. Now, when I'm going, and follow me, when I say legal, you say Michael. When I say night, you say Hardy. Loud and clear so Dr. Robin can hear us. Legal. Night. Legal. Night. Forever you live, Michael. We love you.
So we have a Zoom feature tonight, of course, as we always do. And another attorney is out in California, but wanted to check in, say a few words about Mike and about legal night and his feelings. So Eric Seifert, Eric, you're out there someplace. Maybe you want to join us? Say a few things.
Yes. Good evening, NAN community. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, super heartfelt the passing of Michael, sort of really feeling it. And thank you for celebrating his life tonight. So my name is Eric Seifert. I practice across the country and I do civil rights and appeals. And so my party is this. I was a public defender, Legal Aid Society. And at the time, I was representing all the protests that were happening during Giuliani's administration. And one night on the lobster ship, I saw all these like 30 people sort of standing up at arraignment with this lawyer in front of them, who was Michael Hardy. And I was super blown away by it, because that's what I was doing. Here was, a mentor doing it, and Sharpton there, and everyone was sort of in the courtroom. So as soon as his arraignment was over, I walk over to him and like, dude, I need. Am I muted or is that okay? Am I good? So he said, he gave me his card. And so I called him, I kept calling him for a couple of months, because I needed out of the Legal Aid Society. I needed to go on the civil side and sue. And this was the time when Giuliani and his police departments were shooting everybody. This was about 1998, 99. So then I had the opportunity to work with Hardy as his associate. So he kind of formed me in many ways. He kind of molded me in a very deep way. And I subsequently moved to California. I've been, practicing here in New York and all across the country, and sort of, held that flame of being a civil rights attorney all these years and never wavered. And I was in touch with Michael probably a year ago. I hadn't really been talking to him. And then we started talking, and we had this really great sort of connection, because I was there when he was in private practice. He was, representing Sharpton, and we were getting these calls and, all the referrals from the network. And, I was holding his briefcase, and it was super beautiful to reconnect. And then, of course, as all sort of, beautiful things, there's an end to them. And so then he reveals that he was sick, and so super precious that I showed up in his life now, and really happy to be part of the community again. And thanks to Patrice and all the folks there, I'm here to serve and jump back in and continue this beautiful legacy that Michael has sort of laid down. And thank you for all the other attorneys that are there and have sort of held that space. I'm super happy to be part of the gang, and blessings to Mr. Hardy and his family and all the young people that he mentored along the way. Thank you.
Goldie Harps, I see Goldie here. Brenda Dodd. My good friend Wilson Gilchrist, the videographer from Brenda Ricketts.
Reverend Ron McHenry,
Sorry.
JT Trollinger, Arthur Robinson, the facilities manager. I'm sure Arthur is back here someplace. Where's Arthur? Okay. Dominique Sharpton. David Robertson. Debbie Clark. Debbie. Michael Polite. Sister Diane Word, who I see in the back. Maurice Burt. Maurice. And Christian Matthews. And another person who spent so much time devoting to Legal Night and setting up and organizing Legal Night. And she passed away many years back, but she's still in spirit here. And that's Maxine Lewis. And the attorneys who I'm not going to mention names because we've all spoken and we're all up over here. And 4 judges over the years. Well, 2 of them had to leave right now, but you saw Judge Sanria Edwards gave a great tribute presentation, and Judge Machelle Sweeting also, who had devoted so much time before taking the bench. Judge Kennedy on the appellate division, and also Judge Parker couldn't make it tonight, but they're here and they've devoted so much time over the years, and we're really grateful to them. One of the things also which I'd like to mention to you is none of the attorneys here, we're not employees of National Action Network. We're here on a pro bono volunteer basis. We don't work for the network, but we want the community nevertheless to understand their rights. And why do I say this? I say this because, so there's no misunderstanding, if anybody has questions, the mere fact that you're asking a question to an attorney doesn't establish what we call a attorney-client relationship. That's a very, very valued relationship, like the relationship you have with your pastor, the relationship you have with your doctor. So no attorney-client relationships established. And if you have any qualms or any problems, as Mike would always say, you're going to take it up with one man. I think he's outside because he probably didn't want to hear me say it. Arthur Robinson. Arthur's probably outside hiding, but if you have any questions or any concerns, you'll take it up with him. When he comes in, we'll introduce him, and okay. So in any event, all right. Tonight's main topic is about while you're in custody, if you have medical need, medical attention, what your rights are. And if you don't have the proper medical treatment when you deserve it, what your obligations, what your remedies are. Carmen Giordano, a colleague, a good friend of mine, is here tonight to talk about those issues. Carmen is a veteran trial attorney, criminal court attorney, civil rights attorney, and he's somebody who I would want, God forbid, if I had a problem, to be on my side in my corner, and somebody who you really should feel free to speak with, because he's an excellent attorney who really knows his field. So, Carmen Jack Giordano.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I really don't feel like talking too long about this. I'd rather hear from everybody here if you have any questions. One of the things that we practice in our office is prisoners' rights litigation and wrongful death cases and custody. And I could talk for hours about that on a theoretical constitutional level under the 8th Amendment, and for pretrial detainees under the 14th Amendment. Areas of excessive force, as Joel was saying, medical deprivations, and even religious deprivations under the First Amendment if you're not given the meals and the time you want in chapel or mosque for prayer, whatever. But I'd rather, you know, in the spirit of Michael Hardy, and also following, you know, what we all just did in tribute to Michael, I think if any of you, here's what I'll offer. If any of you have a prisoner's rights issue, anything to do with custody whatsoever, there's a lot of attorneys, I believe, that practice in this area in addition to me, but my number is available. We can put it in the chat for those online. And I'd be happy to speak to you and give of my time as Michael did and talk to you more. I think that might be more fitting right now than getting into a constitutional law discussion and me to get into the nitty gritty weeds of some of the prisoners' rights litigation that we've done over the years. So it's all right with everybody here, and our moderator, Joel, I've opened it up to questions. If anyone has a prisoner's rights question of any sort, I'm happy to answer it. And any other questions you might have, we have some lawyers up here for you.
You guys can make your way up and we'll give you the microphone to talk. Prisoner right questions is what we're taking right now. Yes, please.
Good evening. So as I was listening to you about the prisoners' rights and looking at that it's about health, I was wondering, how could I like get to be able to be of some help to help with the health of the prisoners and know the law and the extent with them, because I do have a great passion for mental health of people. So not only the prisoners, but also the people that work in the prison, so that the mental health can be there, that they treat each other with humanity.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful. What's your name?
Anthony Nance.
Anthony. So why don't we get your contact information? I can get it, or someone here at NAN. And there are plenty of volunteer opportunities in many different avenues to intersect with, you know, the penal system and mental health specifically, because as, you know, we know that a lot of our penal institutions are just essentially warehouses for people with mental illness or other forms of neurodiversity. So we'll get your information. Thank you very much.
Hello, thanks for showing up.
Thank you for showing up.
Okay, but my issue about no prisoners.
What's it about? We have someone that can help you.
It's about achieving some power of attorney.
A power of attorney?
Yeah, because patient he's no longer able to sign or write any.
Well, if the patient cannot sign, then you may have an issue, but we'll talk to you about the specifics. The power of attorney gives another individual the power to execute certain business and personal matters for another individual. But in order to execute that power of attorney, that person has to have agency and has to be of sound mind and body. But we'll speak to you to get the specifics. We don't have to talk about the specifics now. We'll talk to you and see if there's a way around that,
Okay,
so we can help you. Yes, sir.
My issue is I went away on vacation and I was on a cruise and I got an incident and got arrested. And I don't live in that state. They're giving me a hard time and my attorney is not responding to me. So I don't know what to do. And this has been over a year. Mr. Alexander's been trying to help me. He's spoken to the attorney, but they don't return calls.
What state is that?
Texas.
In Texas. In Galveston. That makes sense because that's a port town. All right, well, that's something again that we'd have to get into the nitty gritty to see if there's a way to reach out to your attorney or the people in the jurisdiction. So that's what NAN does. either one of the attorneys or one of the staff and will be able to help you out, sir. Thank you for coming.
Hi, I'm a member of NAN. My name is Lenore Ashford, and you locked up in a cycle ward unit illegally. Okay, I would like to know, okay, is that like prison? Because there's a certain amount of time how they keep you in there without, the unusual time, when they get ready to let you out. So I'm asking you, is it like prison or is it prison?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's a like complicated question, how you approach it. I don't think what you're asking and the pedantic answer to that is, Bellevue has a ward area for, for Rikers and, detention, medical care and psychiatric care, as does Elmhurst Hospital. But I think you're asking a different question as I understand it. And, it comes down to, it can be a constitutional deprivation if there's a lack of due process or there is a fundamental deprivation of a right when you are institutionalized for a psychiatric reason. There are laws and regulations that surround when somebody can be held against their will without getting totally into the weeds. If it's a professional decision on the part of the doctors, not the police, not correctional individuals, but it's a fundamental decision as to whether that person is an imminent threat or harm to themselves or to others. That's the determination that has to be made in order to hold somebody against their will. Kind of dovetailing with that is almost an assumption that that person doesn't have agency, that they don't really essentially have the competent will to decide for themselves. But if you have more personal, more specific questions about yourself or other individuals, let's talk privately after this Q&A.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Michael Antonio Witter, and
Mike.
I wanted to talk about something that happened to me that Mr. Hardy was helping me with in the past. A false arrest that led to a shotgun being pointed in my head while I was forced to lay on the floor.
Okay, Michael was helping you with that? All right. All right, well, we'll take a look at it and we'll help you with that. One of us up here, Michael, especially since your name's Michael.
My name is Victoria Hutchison,
Hi, Victoria.
and I live upstate, but I have a house in the Bronx. I live in Brooklyn all my life, but I bought a house in the Bronx. I was a traffic agent.
Wait a minute, you called the Bronx upstate?
No, I
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Maybe people from Brooklyn call the Bronx upstate, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
I moved upstate about 25 years ago, but
Okay.
I retired. I was a traffic agent, but I adopted some kids.
Okay.
Some twins.
So it's a family law question that you have?
Yes, but
We have a family law attorney.
but I adopted some twins.
Yeah, keep going. We're listening.
Adopted twin?
Yes, and
Congratulations.
and I have one of them with me. He's in a wheelchair. He's cerebral palsy, and the daughter, she was okay, but she had a little problems. Right now, I was letting her stay down in the house here, so now she don't want to move. She don't want to come out and leave. I'm trying to sell it because, like I'm 73, and it's a little too much for me to handle it. And I was doing a thing with the shelter. I had some people in there. And then I started to do Airbnb, but since they changed the rules and stuff, and it's kind of hard taking care of him and running back and forth. So I was trying to sell it, but then she don't want to leave. So I need a real estate lawyer to try to get her out because she's not paying no rent. She's not taking care of the place.
How,
And I don't look-
how old is the person, this is one of the twins that you adopted?
Yeah.
How old is she?
35. They're both
Okay.
35. He's in a
And,
wheelchair. He don't talk, he don't walk, he don't do anything, so it's a lot of work for me.
but she is of her right mind,
I mean, she's right.
so she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she's very, very smart. She just has some problems.
Okay, well, let's talk more. I don't know if you're a real estate lawyer. I think we may be able to figure something out though. And I got a lot of legal minds behind me as well. So come up after the question and answer,
Okay, thank you.
okay? Hello, sir.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Michael Aziz Arif Shabazz, so I'm another Michael in the house. But
Another Michael.
my particular question, what I'm concerned about, and I know this is a deep legal question. What authority in respect to the exceptions that a judge may have not to be sued? I know we deal with absolute immunity, but I'm sure there's some type of authority in the book that surround that give a plaintiff an exception to sue a judge. Maybe we have to discuss that after, but I would like for you.
You mean suing a judge
Yes.
in him or her?
Well, it may be the personal capacity or the official capacity, but I'm sure there's some type of authority.
Well, personal, you can, there's no limit. I mean, you could sue a judge on a personal capacity, but in an official capacity, it depends. But, no, you'd have to report it to a ethical board and there's procedures. But suing a judge in an official capacity, you will not be able to do that.
But I'm thinking about some other type of authority that one can utilize to actually bring that about. And being that there's a number of legal minds that's sitting on the panel, I'm sure we could probably discuss that or come up with some type of theory.
You can certainly
to
discuss
pursue
that. Okay.
I'll speak to you after me.
You have to come over here. You have to come over here. You have to come over here. But she's.
Yeah, I have a question. When you're in the hospital and they held you and reframed you, what documents are supposed to be inside your records when they held you without your consent? Or do they keep documentation in the records, or who would you get that information from?
I'm gonna let someone else answer that.
When you're in a hospital, they have medical records. You'll have a triage nurse, you'll have a doctor. Anyone that sees you is going to document in the records what specifically was your problem, what the diagnosis was, what the course of treatment will be, what they recommend. While you're in the hospital, as part of the medical records. And if you want to get those records, you as a patient have the right to get the records. You'll go to the medical office, fill out a form, they'll send it to you, and you can get your records. Okay?
Anything specific you should ask for, just for all documentation?
Well, if you're in the hospital, you know, you can get an entire chart. Sometimes you don't need an entire chart. Sometimes if you're in a hospital for a couple of days, you just may want the operative report. If they did surgery, you just may want to get copies of the doctor's consultation. You may want copies of your entire chart, and you can have that. They're going to charge you a fee, but that's up to you. That's a general question, okay? All right, thank you very much. All right. Yes, sir. Sure. You want to what?
Do you want to come to the mic?
Yeah, but please speak in the microphone. Yes, yes. Okay.
Hold it. All right, hold it. God, thank God, it gave me the ability to talk to you today. Why I'm saying this?
Okay.
Mr. Michael Harden, that's his name, right?
Michael Hardy.
Rise and Power. Why am I saying that? Why am I saying rise and power?
Why are you saying that?
Yeah.
Because you respect him, right? And we all respect him.
Respect.
Right.
Put God first in everything, right?
That's right. Courtesy and respect's
What
important.
does that mean to you?
What does that mean to me?
Yes.
It means there's a higher source. It means you have to respect others. It means you have to do the right thing. That's what it means to me.
God, thank God, gave you the ability to talk.
That's
man.
right, absolutely.
Every blessing that He blessed everyone.
Yes,
you talk with.
absolutely.
You gotta
That's-
appreciate it, right?
We sure do.
Am I saying this right?
You're saying it right.
Oh,
Yes, you're saying it right. You too. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good evening.
Here because I need help. I have a custody battle that I'm fighting over literally 2 years.
A custody case?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, Mr. Gilbert may be able to help you with this, or at least give you some words of wisdom.
Custody, and what's going on?
Okay, could I speak to you one-on-one?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna speak, right as soon as, yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Who would I talk to in regards to a loved one that has been going to a drug program and they just found out that the methadone that they were given was tested positive for fentanyl?
I can speak to you about that during the break. There's some personal things I don't really want to speak in front of everybody about that, but I have some questions about that.
Okay.
And I understand what you're.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just interject something. We have little pamphlet programs. I hope everybody picked that up. And if you didn't, this at the desk. And I say this for a reason because we have a questionnaire and open it up. And please fill this out and give this to the staff because the staff does such a wonderful job here. And we really take everything seriously. And there may be issues that you want to explore. There may be other programs that you want us to delve into. And, you know, there may be questions that you have with things that you're not happy about. And as I alluded to this before, when the gentleman was out, Mr. Robinson, are you in the back there? He's raising his hand there. If you have any problems or if you have any beefs, you give it to Mr. Robinson. I'll make sure he takes care of all of that. Okay. But I don't think you have any beefs and I don't think you have any problems. But please do fill out the questionnaires because we do take them seriously and we want to make sure that we try to do the right thing by answering all your questions and concerns. So does anybody else have any questions either on tonight's topic or anything in general? Anybody else? So you will talk during the break. Okay. So I think that may be about it right now, unless there's anybody on Zoom that has any questions, Patrice or anybody else? Okay. Okay. So legal night, as we mentioned before, is the last Thursday of every month, with the exception of August, November, and December. August is next month. We're not going to meet next month. Take a little break. So the next time legal night's going to be will be 2 months from now. It'll be the last Thursday in September, September 26th. And you'll have a real treat because we're going to have a panel of judges. You met 2 of the judges tonight. They'll be back. There'll be other judges. And that's really a great panel. They'll be speaking about a view from the bench, meaning that what you can expect when you go before the court. They can't give you advice, but they can tell you about procedures. All right. And it's always a very great program. And we hope to see everybody back here on September 26th. And please bring a friend with you. One of the things I also mention is, as you know, the National Action Network is open every day. And just because we have legal night the last Thursday of every month doesn't mean that you can't come during the week and speak to people here. And please, if anybody has never been here, come on a Saturday morning. There's a rally from 9 to 11. You hear Reverend Sharpton speak. And as I say it all the time, it's a pleasure. It's a treat, an honor to hear him speak. You get charged for the week. You get all that. It's better than 10 cups of coffee. You get all the caffeine that you need. He will speak to you about civil rights, about current events. And it's really something worth coming to. And okay. And you don't have to be a member to come, and we hope you will be a member, help you join, but you don't have to. But you can come and just sit down and watch the program. Okay. So again, thank you very much for coming by tonight, and hope to see everybody soon. And feel free to ask us any questions during the next portion. All right. Thanks,
Sir. Hello.